Okay, so what you're going to want to do in order to make this work now, Young, is this. First off, we're going to want to create just one polygon face. We're going to start right here at the center. Okay, we're going to make a plane right around here, and then we're just going to extrude the edges out and along here. We can go down here, we can go over here. Pretty much what you're going to do is you're going to extrude all these, and then we're going to extrude the faces down in. So you still may want to do this as separate pieces and then combine them again later. But I'll at least show you how to get this curved part going, and the rest is up to you. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start out under our polygon menu. We're going to go and we're going to find the Create Polygon tool. In my case, it's under Mesh. And what this is going to let us do is it's going to let us go click, 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 hit enter. We've now created a polygon face. Okay, a little bit easier than starting off with a plane. We don't need to do as much manipulation. We can now go ahead and I'll go into edge mode, select this edge right here. We're going to go ahead and do an extrusion by clicking this icon right here and just start to extrude out. And now we don't want to do too many extrusions, but we want to do enough to get some detail. So I'm just going to keep extruding these out, and really what I'm doing is I'm just looking for points where I say, okay, I'm going to need more curvature. I'm not going to move anything yet. Just kind of keep going until we get about here, and then we need about 3 more. That's 1, 2, and 3. I'm now going to go into vertex mode, and this may look familiar. We did this when we modeled our dolphin. I'm just going to start to outline this curve. And now I did lower the alpha values in the image plane, so if this looks a little faint, I'm just doing my best to try and find the spots. You may want to raise your alpha values or not even use alpha at all to make it transparent. But I'm just going to kind of, again, outline this as best as I can. I want to try to keep my lines as straight with each other as possible. So you see here, these kind of have a very straight line between them, everything here. Just trying to keep the lines straight because it just makes the model that much easier to deal with later. So bring this down here. I may actually need just a couple more. I'm also trying to keep these faces as quadratic as I can, try to keep the size of them very similar across this whole model, because why not? You know, it'll make it easier later on. The proportions will look right. Texturing, if you needed to put on a special texture and not just have a color, it'll make it easier. Just slide these over a little bit, maybe slide these down. I want to try to keep all of this stuff here as in line as we can get it, because it is the edge of this object. Okay. So let's just say we're happy with that. It's pretty good. And now we want to go ahead and do an extrusion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these faces in here. And again, I'm just going to do an extrusion. I'm now going to go into a 3D view. Okay, so keep in mind, this was a two-dimensional object. We didn't really create depth when we used that Create Polygon tool. So now I can just pull this out to make it three-dimensional, but at the same time I can also pull it down to give us that illusion of it going back in space like it does. Once we do that, now you can go in and actually start working on some of the other detailing, such as if you wanted to make this actually look like how this molding on this clock probably goes. I'll just deselect all these pieces, select this one, and move these up to give it that thickness. And because chances are it probably goes back like that. It may have a little bit of depth to it, maybe like that much. Alright, we can move these back in space a little bit more if we deem that to be necessary. And again, try to keep this as much as you can in a front and side view. We don't want to do too much in perspective, because then things are going to get all sorts of out of place, and that's not what we're looking to do. We just want to make sure we're selecting the right vertices here. We'll select all of these. Double check that we didn't select anything on the wrong side. Okay, everything there looks good. You know, again, maybe you want to move it back a little bit in space, or whatever you need to do, even to the point where you may need now to come in and massage these so that they fit with how this actually looks. But again, trying to keep the lines as straight as possible so it doesn't look too strange. Of course, there will be a lot more modeling that has to be done on it, but if we were to come in here now and just take a look, it doesn't look too bad. And if you were to go in now and smooth this, see, it's still not going to be perfect, but if you add more detail into it, more lines in here, like let's say you just want to come in, and I'll make sure I'm in my polygon menu again, and we'll go in and we'll say insert edge loop, and I'll add in maybe an edge loop here, maybe another one down here, maybe one right in the center here. And doing that now, when we go to smooth it, we're going to get a much different result. We're going to get a harder surface there, a little more curvature in there, starting to look a little bit more, you know, probably need some more definition right along these edges. So I'll just re-invoke the insert edge loop tool. And if we were to just put an edge like right there, oops, and another one right there, now look at the difference when we go to smooth it. Oops, I've got to do the whole thing. We're going to have a much harder edge, which is going to look a lot more like how the wood is. There'll be a slight curvature to it, but it'll be a lot harder, which is what you want. No wood really looks like very smooth around, especially not in this picture. So you're going to want to do this pretty much for all of your objects here. You can create all of these pieces back here separately, then using polygon combine and then merging vertices to make them all one solid piece. Do your molding separate over here. This could easily be done with a NURBS type of curve that you can then go ahead and convert into a polygon if you need to do that. But you can make this piece here, and this all separate, put them all together. You don't have to really combine them. You can just group them, duplicate them around your clock. This piece, this little circle here, like all this stuff, all the light and dark material, all can be done separately. But just approach them, as always, approach it as if you were, everything is going to be glued together, and don't overcomplicate it. That's the big thing that you have to remember. Is all of this stuff, look at it as individual objects. Sculpt them all separately and place them together using your front and side view, so everything will line up in a perspective view too. Okay, don't just use your perspective view. Things will be all out of sorts. It'll look good only from one angle. You have to make sure everything is together. Look at it like blueprints. You make sure everything looks good from a side view, everything looks good from a front view, and then you'll be golden when you get to your perspective view. Any other questions you have, you know how to reach me.